Welcome to the You Need More Money podcast. I'm your host, Matt Manero. I come to you each and every week from my studio in Dallas, Texas. A couple housekeeping things so far. You have less than 2 weeks to register for the Business Finishing School Boot Camp, our Growth Summit, September 28, 29, and 30th in Dallas, Texas. If you want to come and join me, it would be my pleasure to have you. Go to BFS, like Business Finishing School, bfssummit.com and register. We still have $797 tickets left, bfssummit.com. Let's get into today's podcast because I'm getting a lot of questions from people talking about the importance of being a millionaire. And I agree. I think you do need to be a millionaire. I think it's a great goal. The downside is it seemed like such a huge pipe dream for me. I just never thought it was possible. And so if I used to think that, I know you're thinking that as well. It sounds good, but how on earth do I do it? So I wanted to go through some content right out of the You Need More Money book and conduct a podcast with these 5 steps, these 5 things that you need to become a millionaire. And I'm going to give you some real life examples here of exactly what money looks like over time so you can understand that you have to start. You must move in the direction of being a millionaire. It will not just happen for you. It is a systematic approach. And I'm going to give you what I think are the 5 most important systematic approaches to becoming a millionaire on today's show. So let's get started. The first thing you need to become a millionaire is you have to have a machine that spits out tokens. In other words, you've got to be doing something that spits out cash. It could be the business that you started. It could be your business. But if you don't have a business, that's fine. It could just be you and your career path. In the job that you're currently in, does it spit out enough tokens? In other words, enough money at the end of the month? Or are you, like most people, with way too much instead of money? So you got to understand this. Are you in the right platform to create excess tokens, excess cash, excess money at the end of the month? If you're not, you got to read my book, You Need More Money, and figure out the process of how you go about changing your platform. So rule number 1 of my 5-step program to being a millionaire is you have to be in a platform that produces excess, more money at the end of the month. Now, I'm going to walk you through right now how much extra you're going to need. Because my second step is you have to understand the numbers. In other words, you got to know your numbers. What number are you achieving? Are you going for $1 million? Are you going for $2 million? Are you going for $5 million? Are you going for $10 million? And listen, I know some of you are going to say, I'm going for $1 billion. Good for you. You know how freaking hard it is to get to $1 billion? So let's start with the million first. Hell, let's start with the 100,000 first. It's all the same. It don't matter. It's just a matter of, are you capable of spitting out enough tokens to be able to put them into the right platform to be able to do it? So step number 1, you got to be in the right platform, a platform that spits out more money at the end of the month. Step number 2, I'm going to go in detail with you right now, is you got to know your numbers. So I've told you before, everyone listening can be a millionaire. All you need is to put away $2,000 a month for 21 years at a 6% annual return. It will produce $1,017,000. It's just math, y'all. But let me give you some alternative numbers because you may not want to wait 21 years. It's really what a lot of people tell me. They're like, man, I don't want to wait that long. What do I have to do it faster? Well, if you know your numbers, you just got to plug in some new numbers. So I'm going to give you the example. I'm working right off my laptop here. I'm going to tell you what it would take for you to start at age 25. By the way, it doesn't matter whether you're 25 or 35 or 45. It's all the same math. If you wanted to do the same thing, put $2,000 a month away at a 6% rate of return, but you wanted, instead of waiting for 21 years, you wanted to see what happened in 15 years. So instead of being 25, you would add 15, you'd be 40 years old. You started at 25 with 0. You started to put $2,000 a month away. You got a 6% rate of return. In 15 years at age 40, you'd have $888,000. So I'm just going to give you various numbers here. Let's just say you didn't have 2,000. The machine wasn't spitting out extra tokens. You could only do $1,000 a month, right? If you could only do $1,000 a month for 15 years, you would have $296,000. You would be way short. By the way, I made a mistake. That previous example that I gave you at $888,000, that was at $3,000 a month. I thought it was $2,000 a month, but as I'm checking my numbers here, that was at $3,000 a month. So 15 years at $1,000 a month, 6% annual rate of return, you're left with $296,000. You didn't get there. 1,000 isn't enough, 6% isn't enough, or you didn't give it enough time, which is step number 3 of my 5-step program to being a millionaire is you need time. You have to have some patience and understand that you won't do it overnight. Shit, I've been in business 23 years. It took me 15 of those 23 years before I even realized that I had $1 million plus. By the way, I'm not talking about net worth. I'm talking about liquid, cash, right? Investable cash, because you need that investable cash to hit step number 4. So let me go back to these numbers. So as you're listening, I want to give you the scenario. You're 25 years old. You want to do this millionaire gig within 15 years. I'm going to leave the 6% the same because I believe 6% is a reasonable number. I'm not your financial planner. I'm not making estimations of what you can. I ain't even telling you where you can get it because I don't know, other than an index fund, which the S&P 500 index fund has produced 9.2% annual return for the last 80 years. That's one place you can get it. But I ain't going to get myself in trouble by giving you financial advice. I'm just giving you the numbers. You would have to move in that situation if you wanted to be a millionaire by the time you were 40 years old and you started at 25, therefore 15 years. If you put $4,000 a month away at a 6% rate of return, you would have $1,084,000. Now you might be saying, dude, there's no chance, Matt, that I could put away $4,000 a month. I get it. That's $48,000 of pre-tax money. You probably need to make about $65,000 to be able to save $4,000 a month. It's a lot of extra money. But in the big scheme of things, you probably need to be saving $65,000. If you're making $200,000, that's only about 33% savings rate. I've been telling you all along, you need to save 40% of your money to really move the needle. If you're only saving 10%, forget it. There's no chance. That old adage that we were all told, save 10% and you'll retire poor, save 15% you'll retire middle class, and save 20% you'll retire rich. It's all bullshit. It is not true. You need to save more. And the reason most people need to save more is because they haven't saved enough and they're starting late. So we don't have the value of time on our side, right? We didn't start putting away enough money early enough. So we got to make up for it. Therefore, you got to save more money. So let's say that you wanted to go for 18 years. Okay. So that's going to take you from 25, 35 plus 8 is going to take you to 43 years old. And you didn't have the $4,000, but you could do $2,500. So now you got 18 years. You started with nothing. You stacked and racked $2,500 in an investment tool that made you 6% a year. It produced $982,000. So I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to take it out to 44 years of age. Therefore, it's 19 years at $2,500. It's $1,073,000. You get me? The most important thing you got to understand here is that we have to have a platform that throws out extra cash. We have to understand the rules of the game. The machine's got to spit out tokens, and then we got to put it into a platform, an investment strategy. And it doesn't matter whether you buy an index fund or you buy real estate, you flip cars. It doesn't matter, but you need time. You just can't be a millionaire overnight. Now, watch what happens if we change this rate of return. I'm going to go back to $2,000 because I think a lot of people actually can do the $2,000. But instead of a 6% rate of return, we got a 10% rate of return. And I'm going to back this back down to 15 years. Let's see what happens. It's $838,000. So even though we reduced the rate of return from 6% a year to 10% a year, but by reducing the time from 20 years to 15 years, we still didn't get to that millionaire status. Now, I'm not telling you not to start and try this stuff. I'm just trying to tell you, what does it take to get to $1 million cash, liquid? So what do you got to do in that situation? You got to extend the years. So let's go out to 42 years old. And we ended up, guess what? $1,070,000. So guys, I'm telling you, it's going to take you time. If you're starting from nothing, just like I did, it's going to take some time. It's going to probably take you 20 years. Even if you increase the rate of return, the only chance you have, if you can't save more than $2,000 or $3,000 or even $4,000 a month, it's going to take you about 20 years. So just get used to it. Just deal with it. Understand the rules of the game. The rules of the game is if you want $1 million liquid, you're going to need time, or you're going to need to stack and rack more cash. Now, let's go to the key component of this whole thing. Where do you put the money? Once you have the machine that's spitting out these tokens, you put the money into a reserve account, an untouchable, no vacation, no emergency fund, no don't tell my spouse about it. This is a sacred account that gets touched for nothing other than investment strategies. So maybe you're putting away $5,000 a month into your reserve account and you're putting $3,000 a month into some investment strategy. I'm down with that if you want, even though you know I recommend that you need $100,000 liquid cash before you start anything. That's the key component here, is how do we actually create a machine that spits out the tokens. We stack and rack those into a reserve account. We understand the skills of the game. We understand that time is a requirement of this whole process. Look, you and me are starting from nothing. We've got to start someplace. Shit, nobody gave us a silver spoon. We're starting from nothing. We need some time. It ain't going to happen overnight. It's probably going to take you 20 years to become a millionaire. If you're starting from zero and you're stacking and racking $2,000 or $3,000 a month and you're getting a 6% rate of return, it's going to take you 20 years to become a millionaire. And I ain't fighting it. I'm just telling you that's the reality. But if you start at 25, shit, by the time you're 45, you got $1 million. If you're late and you're 35, by the time you're 55, you'll have $1 million. Shit, if you're way late, by the time you're 45, when you start at 45, by the time you're 65, you'll have $1 million. But you got to start. The last piece is you have to be patient. You cannot beat yourself up over the fact that you are behind. You've got to stay the course and give it enough time. You got to put away enough money in the right platform and give it enough time and be patient during that process. All right? Everybody tells you it's easier than it is. It ain't easy. To go from zero, like you and me started from, to get $1 million cash, it takes time. It takes a machine that spits out tokens. It means you got to take that money, those tokens that it's spitting out, you got to put it into a reserve account, and then you got to allocate from that reserve account into a platform that begins to allow compound interest, and it's probably going to take you 20 years. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just be patient about it. Recognize that we didn't start from some place that other people start from. We started from zero. And in order to go from zero to something, that's something I'm talking about on today's podcast, having $1 million liquid, you're going to need about 20 years. And you're going to need about $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And you're going to need a 6% rate of return. Just get used to it. Just get after it. That's the message for today, right? Know your numbers. Get your platform. Skill up. Build the reserve account, get a machine that spits out the tokens, force the factor of time, probably 20 years, and be patient about it. Don't kill yourself, beat yourself up over it. Just keep grinding. I'll see you down the road.